Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chris Berryman, Coalition Builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome, everybody, to another Bringing Humanity Together live stream. This is one of three upon four under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella, where people can discuss topics related to the workplace, humanity, and the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues are that people are facing out there, and it is our goal to work both with employers and employees to bring humanity back to the workforce. We always will be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Feel free to invite your friends, family, coworkers, colleagues, even your favorite dog if you want to bring a dog on. I would love to see the dogs for bringing humanity together. We got to have a dog day. I think that would be great. And today, our host is going to be none other than Miss Carla Fedigan, and she's the host with Humanity Happy Hour. And as you jump on, whether it be on LinkedIn or on YouTube, please feel free to comment in the chat, ask any questions or concerns, or if you even want to reach out to any one of us, we'll be monitoring the chat, and we would love to have a great and engaging conversation with you. And of course, please tell us where you're jumping on from too as well. And if you're watching this on the replay, please sure use the hashtag replay, and of course, where you're watching us from. And just to let you know, 10 people are allowed to join the live session. So if you'd like to be able to join us live, there will be a link to the live stream in the chat, either on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Right now, we have some still issues on Facebook, so we're trying to get that issue worked out. So here is none other than the hostess, Miss Carla Fedigan. Carla, how you doing today?
Hey, Chris, doing great. Welcome everybody. I hope you'll jump on and on our live feed or comment where you're logging in from. And if you're watching on the replay, use the hashtag replay. Today I was thinking that we always talk about positions from the position of leadership and the importance of listening and making sure that you feel like you've been heard, and also making sure that the people that you work with feel like they've been heard too. But what if you're working together on a project with some of your teammates? You're, basically all at the same level. And what if you're trying to get a point across and someone's just really resistant to hearing what you have to say, or maybe being open to a suggestion? How do you handle that and make sure that you're being heard without frustration? And if you're frustrated, how do you handle that frustration?
You just smack them.
So I thought I would just throw that out there. When I think about this, because I had someone talk to me about a situation that came up like that, that they had offered a suggestion to a teammate on how to do something easier to make it easier for everybody. And they even explained that, hey, if we try and do it this way, it will make it easier for everybody. And their comeback was, well, that just makes it easier for you. It doesn't make it easier for us. And my thought about that was, how would I handle that? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about an easy statement. What do you mean by that? How do you think it only helps me and it doesn't help you? To see where they're coming from that angle. Because they may not even have a reply. Because they may have just thrown that out there just for their resistance to want to change. And not necessarily think about it. It's easier to say, well, that only works well for you, and then that way you won't make any changes. What do you guys think?
I agree with you, Carla. Because, basically most human beings don't love change. They're much more comfortable with what they know and what they've always been doing and so on and so forth. But, today, I think change is the new norm. And I think people need to open their minds to embrace more change. Because as we move forward with better technology and more artificial intelligence and, all different kinds of things, we have to open our minds to the fact that everything we've always done is not going to stay the same. It just doesn't work that way. And if somebody on the team, a colleague, comes up with something that's more efficient or easier or whatever, why wouldn't we want to listen? I mean, why wouldn't we want to try it?
Because corporate's always done it that way.
Well, fair enough. But I think, if it's your colleague, it's not, coming from somewhere up above, but it's just somebody beside you, why wouldn't you want to listen and say, okay, well, explain that to me a little bit better? And, I'll give it a shot. I just, I guess I've just never, I get bored. So I'm always open to something that's a little bit different or whatever, but I'm sort of not the norm. So, I guess it just depends. But especially during this pandemic, where everything is boring because we're kind of locked down and stuck and whatever. So why wouldn't you want to look at something different? Why wouldn't you want to try something that might improve the situation or make things easier or more efficient or whatever? And I don't understand people who don't like to open their minds to something. On top of which, it's very important for our brains to be opening new neural pathways, because otherwise we're not exercising our brains. And it's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. Put the toaster on.
Well, maybe you could one suggestion that comes to mind is saying, well, are you open to hearing how it can help everyone, including you?
That would be good.
Because they either have to say yes or they're going to say no. And if they say no, then you're not going to get anywhere.
No. I mean, in the end, especially with adults, but even with kids, we can't make people do things they don't want to do. Mm-hmm. So, it is what it is. I mean, if somebody is open and they want to do it, then hey, that's 90% of the effort here. Because if they are open to it, then they'll listen and they'll try it and they'll probably use it and be happy with it. Mm-hmm. But there are people who just are very resistant, especially if somebody else comes up with it, like, well, I don't understand it, but I guess that's just me and where I come from. I just think that anything that's helpful, that's more efficient, that will make things easier for us, why wouldn't we want to do it? I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's really strange. It sounds strange, but some people are jealous because you've come up with the decision and they didn't.
Exactly.
I've never understood that. To me, it's quite juvenile, especially in an adult world. Exactly. But there are people like that. How do you handle that rejection, so to speak?
Well, it's immature. It really is. It's silly and it's immature. And you just might want to say to them that it's not just for me, it's for all of us. Why would you not want to try it? I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But, why wouldn't you want to at least give it a try? Yale, it's Sachs.
So for me, though, that has been in my life for over 35 years, is when I have suggested something to somebody, whether it be in management or like what we're discussing today, our very co-workers and team players on our team, when I've said something to them, I'm not doing it for the benefit of me. I'm doing it for the benefit of all. And once they are able to embrace that, and again, like I've said many times before, if you was to let go of what you fear to lose, then you have nothing to fear and you have nothing to lose. So it's like what also I said yesterday. Should we put humanity over vanity? And to a certain degree, that's what's happening. We're putting our own vanity in front of what's going to be best for everyone else, because you're putting that defense mechanism saying, oh, you're just doing that for the betterment of you. Why? Because they are resistant to that very thing that's going to help them. Because like you said, Carla, they're jealous that you came up with the idea versus them. What's your thoughts on that, ladies?
You're right, Chris.
I think it's juvenile.
Well, I agree, Carla, but you're right. There are some people like that, and it is immature. Like, grow up. You're an adult. We're not 7-year-olds in the schoolyard. We're adults, so deal with things in a mature manner, in a way that actually makes sense. Because, if we can find a way to do something more efficiently and whatever, why wouldn't we want to do it? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And just because somebody else came up with it, who cares?
Well, see, a lot of people look at it as, well, if they come up with all these great ideas and they're a contributing person on the team. I hate the word team player. If they're contributing to the betterment of the team and the better of the organization, they're going to stand out more than I do, and they're going to end up getting a promotion. Well, I'm sorry, that's kind of how the game is played.
Exactly.
You know?
And if you want to get noticed, then you better come up with some suggestions.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah. We all have to shine our own light.
Exactly. It's not rocket science. I'm sorry. It's just a matter of, if you want to get noticed, then you come up with something that's good.
Yeah. If you want to advance in any company, you have to put the work in.
Exactly.
You can't sit back and let it just come to you just because you got a pretty smile on your face. Right. It's not going to happen that way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I totally, you're so spot on, ladies, on both of your standpoints, because we have to really listen. And again, is what you talked about so much, Sandy. Active listening is a critical area in our lives, and if we don't use it, like you said before, and when it comes to a muscle in our body, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And to me, you're absolutely so spot on, ladies, on both of your points, because we're not really listening. We're just, to me, sometimes the worst enemy that gets in our way is our own selves. We get in our way far too much than what we really should be doing. And I've learned that many times, and it was the lesson of the hard knocks, so to speak,
The right one's yours.
because we just keep in our way every single time. So, is that something that we actually do to ourselves a lot, Carla?
Oh, we do. We get in our own way a lot. We tell ourselves that we.
Hello,
Hey,
happy birthday,
boy.
sir.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. You don't want me to sing.
No. Okay, carry on. Okay.
See you 29, right?
Yeah, that's good, Carla.
Yeah, 29 and holding.
It's almost
There you
close,
go.
almost closer to the reverse.
Ah!
I could never tell. Could never
You know
tell.
what? He's got everybody in his family is like this. They have baby faces. Like they just, they don't age. Like his mom at 89, you would never have known she was 89. And Yale's sister at 91, she's frail, but she doesn't look 91.
Yeah.
And this is Yale's 82nd birthday. I mean, he doesn't look his age. People never guess his age. They think that he's in his 60s.
Yeah.
And,
people never guess my age either.
People don't guess mine either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, to me, age is a number. It depends
Yes.
how you feel and how you behave and how you take care of yourself. There are some people who are old at 40. They just are because of their attitude and the way they behave and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And, some people, like my friend's mother who lived till she was 105, I mean, she was amazing. I mean, yes, she was frail physically and she was legally blind, but her mind was sharp as a tack. Because although she didn't read books anymore, she got audio books. And she listened to all different kinds of things. And she went for walks every day. And, like she did all kinds of things to keep herself healthy. And it was fun to speak to her, because she knew all the news that was going on, because she'd listen to the TV every day. And so it just depends what you do. And, again, it's just a number. Just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my husband's cousin's aunts was in her 90s and she fired her financial advisor because she could handle her finances better than he could.
Good for her. I love it.
Yeah, she's great. She was a pistol. She's great.
Well,
that goes to show you, though, about what we're talking about today, about really listening to others, especially in a co-worker environment. When you think about a financial advisor who's working with you, in essence, it's a business together. So if they're not listening to you, they're doing you a disservice and saying, hey, I'm telling you to do this. Well, hey, I'm doing my finances better than you are. You know what? You're fired.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
fired.
you're fired. I mean, I'm telling you.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. And it's a matter of what are you doing? And, our brains are designed to create new neurons as long as we're alive, but only if we challenge it to open new neural pathways, which means that we have to continually learn new things and try new things and do things in different ways. The person who is a robot and does everything the same every day, day after day, day after day, it is not healthy for your brain. It's just not. So, and the neurotransmitters quit working and, we just get into a lot of trouble. So people who retire and don't exercise and don't use their brains to learn new things, they go downhill very quickly. It's actually very sad to watch. But so that if you retire, you need to have a plan of what you're going to do. So maybe you always wanted to learn to play the cello, or maybe you always wanted to paint or sculpt, or maybe you wanted to learn a new language, or, whatever. I mean, when you have a base of knowledge, you can add to that quite easily, by expanding your knowledge in that base. But to learn something entirely new, boy, that's a challenge. And a lot of that also has to do with attitude. People who say, okay, I'm coming. People who say that they can't do it, and I'm too old, and they won't be able to do it. The people who
Those
say,
are self-limiting beliefs.
yeah, I can do this. Might take me a little longer, but I can do this. I'm going to do this, and those people will do it. It's just a matter of what is your attitude. And
Right.
you're right, Carla, because what you do is you put self-limiting barriers in front of yourself.
Instead of saying, I've never done that before, I can't do it, you say, I've never done that before, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah, I'm interested in trying. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I got to go because I got to go have some lunch with my husband, and then I got to take him to the.
Yeah, you got to take the birthday boy out, so enjoy the birthday.
We will. Anyway,
have a good birthday.
Okay,
Yeah,
you guys have a good week.
Bye, Sandy.
Okay.
So that just led me to another thought that we had about the way we think about, if I could do X, I could have Y. And those self-limiting beliefs get in your way of saying, I don't know if I can ever do that. I don't know if I can ever compare to this person over here in the level that they're at. I don't know if I can ever get there. Those are self-limiting beliefs that limit you taking action and staying and say, well, if I could get to certain salary per year, I could do whatever, but saying that I could never meet that level is a self-limiting belief. Why can't you?
Because
you have to start thinking of, okay, what can I do to get there? And when I get there, this is going to happen. Now, I'm not comparing that to when I make $100,000 a year, I'm going to be happy. That's different. It's having a goal and making a plan and going, okay, and having a dream. And instead of just dreaming about it, saying, okay, what do I want it to look like? What do I want to do with it? In detail. What is it going to look like? And what do I need to do to make that happen, and reverse engineer it to where you're saying, when I achieve that, because I'm going to take these steps to get there, this is going to happen. Like, for example, there's a friend of mine that wants to retire her husband. When I get to a certain level in my company, we're going to have enough income to retire my husband, because he's a police officer, and bring him home. So what they did is reverse engineered it and said, what is it going to take to get to that point? What does that look like? What kind of work am I going to have to put into it?
Right. You basically are painting a picture.
Yeah, because if you say, "Oh, I'll never have enough money to retire," why is that? You're just stopping yourself from doing that. You can have enough money to retire. If people say, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I can't be a millionaire." And there's a book by Chris, can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I heard him at a John Maxwell conference, and he was talking about most people don't realize how close they are to $1 million in assets that they have, and that with a few simple steps that anybody could be a millionaire.
Correct.
And it takes $1 million to retire, because you're going to have expenses when you retire, you know?
Right. Well, for me, though, I don't look at the dollar amount of what would get me to where I need to go. What I look to is, how can I change that mindset that I'm not focused on the money aspect, but what I'm truly worth to the world around me. What am I truly worth? Because number one, you can't put a price on people. You can't do that. You can't put a price on someone's value. We try to do that every day when we
Well, there's a price on the job that you do, you know, because companies have to come up with that, because that's an expense for them.
Correct. But to live the life that you love, to get to where you really want to go, I take it in this context, Carla. I want to take the steps of when I paint that picture and put that in my mind's eye and say, this is where I need to do, and this is how I can be able to do it. I may not know all the ins and outs how to get there. I just know the path that's been laid before me.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I have to go this direction. This is where I got to go, and that's what I have to do. It's just like what me, you, and Sandy and many others are building here at Bringing Humanity Together. We just know what needs to be done. We don't know all the intricacies of where to go, but that's what's so good about being on a hero's journey. When you're on that guide, on that hero's journey with that very hero, that you know that they can become that hero, that leader, that entrepreneur of who they really can truly turn into becoming, then when you realize that, you can open yourself up to a much larger world, because not only you by default are helping them, they are actually by default helping you, in which by default is helping anyone else in any organization, community dynamic that is. Even John C. Maxwell says it in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. We need to be able to embrace the leaders that are right before us each and every single day, and that is us. When we look ourselves in the mirror, we're the very ones that can say, hey, I'm going to lead today because I can be that 360-degree leader that I know I can be. And see, like I just said earlier, the person that gets in our way most times, more often than not, is us. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't allow ourselves to do that. Again, with those self-limiting beliefs, again, I think that's what we're talking about here when co-workers are not letting the best idea win, because when you are presenting that, when you agree that might be a self-limiting belief to them? Or even could that be?
Well, it could be, I guess, but don't look at it that way. I look at self-limiting beliefs as things that we tell ourselves that keep us from taking action on what we truly want.
But could that also be the same thing for them not only wanting to take the action of an idea?
Now, I think a lot of that it might be jealousy and resistance to change.
Could be, absolutely. But see, that to me sounds like a self-limiting belief. Because if you believe in jealousy and you hold on to that jealousy, you're not going to let that go. Because, hey, if Carla comes up with the idea and Tom is being told by Carla that you're presenting that idea, but Tom says, oh, no. maybe he, again, I'm just generalizing here. He's jealous of the fact that you came up with the idea.
Right.
You might take that very thing to whether it be management or supervisor or even another coworker, and then if they like it and if they embrace it, and it's like anything else, we'll start to talk about it, and then it comes right back to Tom, and Tom says, "Hey, wait a minute, I've been doing this thing for 10, 15 years. This is the way it's always been." And again, we're not opening ourselves to an opportunity to see the multiple paths to not only to success, but of completion of said work. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I look at it as emotional immaturity.
That too.
Like Sandy said, that we're not in high school anymore, and we're not keeping score. We're here to do a job, and
Didn't we
somebody
mention
comes
that
up with something to
yesterday?
make something easier.
Didn't we mention that yesterday about the scorekeepers?
Yeah.
Why do we even keep the score? Why do we even do
The
that?
power struggle.
It is.
Industry, the way that things are set up, and the corporate structure. You've got the VPs, you've got the board of directors, you have the management team, whatever. You've got the different hierarchy, and everybody's trying to climb up the pyramid. And until you take that out and have more of a team approach to solving problems and working together, you're never going to get rid of that. There's always going to be that struggle to want to climb to the next level.
And I'm glad you said that.
Just like if you, for example, had a suggestion at work to make something easier for the line or something, and you took it to your manager. Well, if you took it to that person and they told you, no, we're not going to do it that way, and then you had talked to your manager about it, and he decided, hey, that's a fantastic idea, I want to adopt that, and they go and adopt it, that person's probably going to be, they might be, oh, God, do you mean we're going to have to change? But at least they're not going to be saying, like, for example, well, that's only going to make your life easier.
And when Sandy mentioned before she left about being a robot, I have swore to myself that I would never become the very robot or monster that I don't want to end up becoming. And just in that example that you are presenting us today, it gets me to wonder, we are in one way, shape, or form telling people that we work with, not work for, because there's a difference, that we are working with, that they have to end up at just shut up and do it, or keep your mouth shut. You become that very robot. That's all you're going to do. Get job done. That's it. We can't.
If that's the way the structure of the organization wants it, that's the way things end up being.
I get
nobody
that.
makes any good suggestions because they don't feel like they've been heard. They don't go anywhere.
Yes.
And so at that point, you have, no matter what you're doing, you have to decide, is this really where I need to be or not?
Correct.
And go, you can sit and complain all you want, but like you've heard me say before, and you'll hear several times again, so what, now what? Right. So what are you going to do to make a difference? Okay. And there are a lot of people, I think it's kind of a good thing because it allows people to set boundaries for what they will put up with and what they won't. Cool. And it's not easy to leave a job. So that's where you have to have that game plan to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do as my plan B or my plan C or whatever, that I'm going to end up progressively working my way out of this situation. Because I would never tell anybody just quit. You can get another job tomorrow. No, because that doesn't happen.
Correct.
Correct. But sometimes you just have to keep your mouth shut and and say, hey, it's a paycheck for now, and I'm going to replace my income, and then I'm going to go do what I truly want to do.
Mm-hmm. But for me, when it comes to the larger game that we have to play, see, it's like there's two different games we play. There's the short game and the long game. For me to play the long game in life and even in business itself too as well, for us to become the critical thinkers that we need to be, or at least should be, I want us to be able to question for the right reasons and the right purpose. Not just to throw it out there, just to ask the question to make yourself look good or anything like that. There's a method behind the madness, so to speak, as they put it. Because I was always taught at a very young age, question everything and get an answer to everything that you can humanly get an answer to. They may not be able to get the answer to you right here and now, but at least they can be able to say, hey, I may not know it now, but I'll find out somebody from you for you later that can get in touch with me and let me know. And I believe we have lost sight of that. That is, again, it's like what John C. Maxwell says in the 21 Year Revolution Leadership. Let the best idea win. It may not win out today. It even may not win out tomorrow. But at least put the idea out there to such an extent that it is being recognized, it is being heard, and it's being assimilated in the brains of everyone else and saying, hey, let me ponder on that, let me articulate that and get that and let that be done. And see, I think a lot of times, like I said, I can be completely wrong, but like I said, in my 35 years of experience, there's been some instances, and I can give you prime examples of it, and a lot of it in the places that I worked at personally, that they say what they say in one hand, but do what they do in a different fashion on another. It's like, don't do as I say and don't do as I do, or
Yep.
don't follow my principles, but I'll actually
Do as I say, not what I do. Yeah.
right.
Well,
Right.
for an organization to be open to the even thought of let the best idea win, that takes a lot of letting go of power and a lot of letting go of the thought that I'm up here in leadership and you're down here as part of the team. I'll invite you up to leadership when I see fit, but so just stay down there on the team where you're at. It takes a lot of emotional maturity to be able to let that door open to allow people to even be able to offer suggestions. And people have to trust that their suggestions are going to be heard. And they may not be you might have a problem and you might have 5 people come with different solutions for the problem. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to win every time, but people want to hear that their particular situation or their particular solution is being heard. Like, for example, if we were looking at a problem and 5 of us got together and we all had different solutions, we could sit and say, okay, so if we take solution 1, what are the pitfalls? What are the positives? What are the negatives of that? And number 2, and number 3, and number 4, and number 5. Now, I might find that maybe the solution I had was what I thought was a stellar solution. But then when we started to pick it apart, it wasn't as good as I thought it was because I didn't see the pitfalls. Then, it takes a lot of maturity to say, well, I thought my idea was a really good idea, but it's really not that good. I think I like idea number 2 better than my idea number 5. It's that kind of conversation that needs to be happening. And I think when people can see that, they can see what people in leadership are up against and what they have to look at. There may be some things that are happening on a higher level that they don't even take into account into the solutions that they're offering. You know,
okay. Okay, let me
let's
ask
just
you.
say, like say for example, we could incorporate X, Y, or Z, but because if we incorporate it, it would raise these expenses over here, or it would open us up to liability, or all these other parameters that we never thought about. So I think people get a bird's eye view of what management has to contend with in making the decision, but it goes a long way too to open it up to let people make suggestions for change.
Well, and this gets into the context of what we're talking about today when it comes from the team dynamic only, that when team people get together and want to have those conversations, we not are allowing that to be fostered and embraced at the team level to try to get up to the leadership level. And there's some people, because you got to remember the seniority in every organization. So if someone has been there for 15, 20 years and someone comes in and they've been only there for, let's say, 2 years, 5 years, or whatever,
Yeah,
in
they're still wet
comparison.
behind the ears. Yeah.
Right, right. They are taking that very mindset of, I've been here longer than they have. They don't have the validation of me, number one, because I have had said stature in this dynamic for over 10, 20, 30 years, however it may that be. But I'm not going to let their idea win because I have seniority.
Oh,
And
I've heard
again,
that
that goes,
before.
yeah. So again, to me, that sounds like it goes into vanity. It sounds like it goes into selfishness. It sounds like
It's immaturity.
immaturity. But then again, when we're sitting down at the table of humanity, which we do each and every single day, whether it be at work, whether it be at the grocery store, whether it be at home, we're not engaging each other on that great human level that creates the environment. Again, like, this is what I learned from Brian Summer so innately and greatly, that I shouldn't put my reality onto you, Carla, thinking that that's your reality when in fact it's not. It is mine and my perception of that reality and mine alone. But when you're creating that very idea dynamic of a solution, again, it all comes down to perception. Your
Mm-hmm.
perception of said what Carla says and the solution, because you say you got 3 or 4 or 5 out of 5 solutions you have to go do after Carla's, so you have like 3 more to go. But you would look back and you look at yours and say, I may not like my idea because I've heard the pros and cons of every solution. Because when we break it down and really hear somebody, we do see the pitfalls, we do see what happens, and if we don't allow that to be fostered, we just shove it to the side. We just let it go to. It's like let it go in one ear, out the other. I don't want to take on that, because it comes to that point of, like I said, selfishness, immaturity, and like I said, I might be generalizing here, but I've seen it for far too long, and you probably have seen it too in the nursing field for 40 years. That when we put that out there, uh, that way ain't going to work, Carla, because we've done this here in the nursing office for over 10 years. Oh, really? Okay, I can see that, but okay. And again, I don't want me become the very robot that I swore I would never become. I don't want to end up having my mouth zipped up by other people, because to me, and I had to learn this at a very young age. Um, it was my psychologist at a very when I actually had to go to see a psychologist after the death of my mother. They said, if you don't vent what you have on your mind at that time and get it across in a very simple way, it is going to eat you alive. So when I convey things to people, and sometimes very simple things, either they are overthinking it, number one, they don't want to allow the idea to flourish and to thrive because, again, it comes back to their selfishness and their immaturity, or they just want to make themselves look good saying, hey, it's not Chris's idea. It's not going to work, so I'm just going to just kill it right here and now.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine going to a job and being a robot. Back in the day when I used to work in the OR, yes, there were some things that never changed, but every day was different.
How long did you work in the OR?
Which time? Yeah, which time? The first time, that was probably almost 4 years, I guess. And then I did outpatient surgery for a while. And then I trained for the OR. And then in one of my last jobs, I would work in the OR every once in a while. And I love that because I love the variety of it,
Uh-huh.
So,
But in that dynamic, into the examples that we've been talking about here today, was the idea dynamic when someone was proposing an idea to better the OR. Did that ever take root into that, and it did it flourish, or did it just kind of be brushed to the side and say, okay, it is what it is?
oh no, I think back then, with the company I was with, everyone was open to new ideas to make everything more efficient. And I was at the time I was blessed to work with some great teams because they saw the need for cross training and everybody working together, and we had a tight knit group. So I was blessed in those experiences. So it hasn't been completely the entire 40 years of nursing, but I hear stories,
I'm sure.
But yeah, what is it they say? If you're not listening to your people, you're gonna find out that you're gonna be in a situation where nobody's talking.
And that comes to the robot aspect of it. And I have literally myself, there's been many places that I've worked, I've end up having to do that. I was literally shut down to a certain extent. That's all I did. I just went in, did my job, didn't say nothing to nobody, and then left. See, that's not what, to me, bringing humanity together is all about.
Well, there's a way to do the things you're supposed to do in your job, and maybe they're not open to new suggestions on how to do things, and that you have to decide what you want to put up with. But you can always go in with a positive attitude, and you can always be friendly.
And I do. Okay, but especially in my younger years when I was working like at McDonald's and some other places.
That was my first job.
I know. You told me many times. The School of Hard Knocks was really hitting me hard back then because standards and procedures had to be done. It's cut and dry. There was no other way to view things.
Well, it was all quality related. Remember the quality training back in the 70s?
Yes.
I mean, you had to actually fold the bag the right way. It was like 2 1-inch folds. Yeah. And you didn't get the food together until all the food was available.
Correct.
And you did drinks first. Yep.
Then you actually set up your fries in your fry station, make sure you had all your fries. Then what we used to have was called a bin, so you all have your hamburgers, quarter pounder, all that kind of stuff. It was
hamburgers, cheeseburgers, double cheeseburgers, quarter pounders with cheese, and Big Macs and fish fillet.
Correct. That's the way it was staged out. And then you remember you had the number sign that you actually had to put behind that. So whenever you saw that number hit up at the clock, that's when you had to waste them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I used to go home smelling like French fries, like you and Billy.
Oh, I did too. I did too. But
Yeah.
it made me think because, in fact, when I was a crew trainer at McDonald's, and I
Yeah.
presented an idea to a friend of mine, I was like, you know what? You won't will make it better because this is still back then when you had the little metal plates for the times that if they have like a number 10 on it or a number
Yeah,
7
because you
or
could only
whatever.
have things out for 30 minutes.
Right, right.
Yeah.
What I told him at the time is like instead of doing the actual number thing inside each product, couldn't we have something in above the bin that would actually be reflective of everything, so you can actually chart it out? Like you said, there was hamburger all the way to fish fillet, and you have these time things that you can actually do and say if these things come in at said time. And this is back when actually McDonald's at the time when I was working actually had a computer. So what
Oh,
we
we
could
didn't
have
have
done is actually,
computers. I'm
I
going
know
way back.
back then you didn't. I know back in the 70s you didn't, but back when I was working, that was back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Um, that we could have done it to where because at that time we did have everything on a screen. So when drive through was coming, you could see what drive through needed. But see, also they could have interconnected it to where they could put that in when the food came up that you can actually set that timer and it will do a countdown timer so it tell you you got to get rid of hamburgers, you got to get rid of cheeseburgers, and you have to
Yeah.
do a new run. But when they went to the made for you format, I believe it was back in 98, 99. That was back when they probably changed all that
Yeah.
to because they scrapped the whole little number system and everything was basically made to order. So what they did is that whole big bin that they had there, they rooted that thing out, moved it out, and they had two little things on the sides that was it was like warmer still, like you would have a mini bin there, but it kept the food warm. But everything was done made to order, and what they have now is they have these little trays that you slide into these warmers. They have all the meats, all the eggs, all the fish, all that kind of stuff, and it's kept in those little tray holders. So when you have them cooked, you take it out, put your squirt of hamburger, ketchup, mustard, all that, and they're still doing the same amount of mustard
Oh,
and
really?
ketchup
Wow.
still to this day. Yeah,
Three pickles.
remember
Yeah.
the big old funnel that you actually have? They're still doing it the same way,
Yeah. Wow. And three pickles.
and three pickles. Correct.
Wow.
Right. And still today, I still know how long it takes to cook a hamburger, cheeseburger, and a quarter
Uh-huh.
pounder. 33 seconds to cook a cheeseburger or a hamburger, which is the same
Uh-huh.
kind of meat, anyways. It takes 108 seconds to do a quarter pounder with cheese. Now, when you get to your fries and you cook your fries, do you remember how long your fries had to be set on the fry rack before you get rid of them? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
They can only set in the fry bin holder for 7 minutes.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, they're only good for 7 minutes. Same thing with hash browns. So if you cooked a hash brown and you had it for breakfast, it was only good for 7 minutes.
I don't think we had hash browns back in the 70s. We had
You may,
I don't remember the hash browns.
but you had the eggs and the hotcakes though.
Oh yeah, yeah, we had those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had I was the senior in high school, and they asked me if I wanted to go into management or go to nursing school. And there were so many times I thought, why didn't I stay at McDonald's? My husband says we could have had a franchise now.
Were you ever a trainer?
Huh?
Were you ever a trainer?
Oh no.
Oh no. I was a trainer.
No, I was just a lowly high school kid.
Yeah. Well, see, I was a trainer at McDonald's when I worked there.
I had the 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun sweatshirt. I wore that thing with pride. And then they had the uniforms, and they were like all one color. And
Brown with
to this day,
sides.
I hate McDonald's yellow. So I was quite the sight. I was going to work in a bright yellow uniform, getting into a lime green Pinto to go to work. And I believe that summer I had actually put sun in on my hair, and my hair turned red. So I looked a lot like Ronald McDonald.
Oh my word!
That was back in the day. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there! I can see us having an episode of the stories of where we were back then.
Oh, you know what? I went to my very first concert. I went to a Peter Frampton concert, and I went with some people I worked with. And I wasn't even drinking. I wasn't old enough to drink, and nor was I really drinking. And I was standing on a folding chair, and the chair folded up, and I twisted my ankle.
Ooh.
That's my memories of my first concert I ever went to.
Well, man.
All my McDonald's crew.
Yeah. Well, like for me, I was a trainer for McDonald's for 3.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually in training in the trainer program.
That would be fun to do.
Well,
although it might be frustrating.
It was.
It's got to be frustrating to some extent, unless you can really hold people to and convey the whole aspect of quality. You know, there's so many different restaurants that you can go to in this world now. You've got to think quality of what you're putting out. What is making you different from everybody else? Mm-hmm. And years ago, McDonald's was like that. You know, you loaded the bag a certain way. You had a certain quantity of ice in the drinks, and you know, the carbonation had to be right on the tanks. You know, the coffee had to be right. You know, you didn't leave the fries out too long. It was just an art, because their quality was so much better than everybody else, that we even got down to folding the sack right. Now they just wad that sucker up and hand it to you. You know?
Right. Well, again, when I was in my training program for training as a trainer, I always told my trainees, this is what McDonald's expects, okay? Mm-hmm. This is the procedures and the policies and everything like that. But I've always told them, I was like, understand it in the way that you can understand it, and you do you to a certain extent. Take it in the best way that you can do it. So again, to what we're talking about today, about letting the best idea win from a team aspect dynamic, to where if I bring something to Carla, or Carla brings something to me, we can have that great and engaging conversation of the pros and cons of both ideas, and see which one will have the best idea that can win out either today, tomorrow, next week, next month, whatever. But at least the conversation gets to be had. But like, so when I was at McDonald's, I told them, I was like, hey, look, embrace these things that I'm teaching you in your own unique way, so you can understand it for what's going to be done for you. And there were some people that I actually trained that I had to accommodate to what they had to go through. There was one guy that I had to train that had a blind eye in his right eye, so he couldn't see all that good. So I was like, hey, when you build something up on a hamburger or a cheeseburger, what you probably want to do to kind of remember this is, when you do your ketchup, do the squirt the same motion, and then when you have it on the other one, and I told him, I was like, when you kind of tilt your head, tilt it to the same kind of direction that you would do it if you were doing it from the left side, and try to do it that way. And so I'll try to give them little tips and tricks to make it their own, and say, stay within policy and procedure of what said training was done. And that's why I approached it when I was at McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, people have to understand why those policies and procedures are there, because it goes to the vision and mission of the company and the quality that they want to put out to the world. And that comes from everything that you do in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be building hamburgers or whether it be building a team.
Now, I have to ask this question, and I want this to have the audience sink into this and really think on this. The way that we are building bringing humanity together, do you believe it's probably the better way to create a new business model, or is probably a business model that people needed to probably embrace compared to what probably we have done probably for hundreds of years, that where we build said building, put said product out, and hope to gain a following? Do you like the approach to what we're taking here, that we're creating the following first, then we're going to put out said products and services to gain even more of a following because of it, not in spite of it?
Wow, that's a big question. I think that the people that we have now, we see where we want to go and what we want to do, and we're going to do it, and we're inviting others to come along with us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see that there's such a great need for it.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the call to action of today's message of letting the best idea win and listening for the conversation, not just to say it's not going to be a good idea, I'm going to be immature about it and say, hey, that's not going to work. What would be the call to action for people out there to say, hey, how can I foster that environment that where both ideas can have a chance to be heard and to be listened to, whether it be from Carla or from Chris or whoever that might be? What would I be called to action to?
I think we all need to take a look at where we stand in the workplace and how we relate to other people on a human level, and not necessarily just some other worker that I work with. You get to know them one-on-one, and leave that immaturity at home. Be open to new ideas. Give it a try. What do you got to lose? Talk about ideas. If you have an idea, suggest it to your leadership. They may have some reason why, hey, we've tried that before, and X, Y, this happened when we tried it, so we decided it wasn't advantageous for us to do that. Then that's fine. Everybody understands why. Or if you're in a position of leadership, put it out there for people for suggestions of what you could do to solve a problem. And then open it up for a big discussion, not just one-on-one, because that way everybody can learn from it. And they can be, it's like a baseball team. We're all in it to win the game together.
Mm-hmm.
We all got to play together. The infield has to cooperate with the outfield and whatnot. And because the purpose is to win the game. We're all in it together. We all have our part to play. And being closed-minded to people that are not being closed-minded to new suggestions doesn't do anything to help the organization. And it doesn't do anything to foster a relationship between you and the other people that you work with. Put the immaturity to the side. There's no place for that in the workplace. We're all here. We all need to get a job done. We want to do it the easiest and most effective way possible. Work smarter, not harder.
Right. And the way I've always embraced things, that any place that I've worked at, is I want to be able to learn something new each and every single day. If I learn one new thing a day, I've had a productive day. But also, I want it to be engaging and I want it to be fun for everyone involved, because if we don't have fun with one another, then why do we do the work that we do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You got to have fun.
Yeah, you got to have fun. You got to embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great call to action, Carla. I love it. And I'm just so thankful and honored to have you and Sandy and many others in this great community and movement and purpose and mission that is bringing humanity together, because you guys do see the need, and I see it too as well. And I just want to, like I said, bring humanity together and to bring humanity into business and beyond it, because the very people that, like I said, are in business today, what interconnects us all is our very humanity, because we can't be someone different at work than we are at home, even though
Mm-hmm.
that's been told to us many times with the very same person. We can't clone ourselves. If we wish to clone ourselves, we'll let our clone go to work today. Let them deal with all the fries today.
Yeah.
We can't do that. So just embrace your humanity and express it the best way you know how. And I think that's what we are aiming to do, and what we will do, because we want to create a better culture and a better work life balance structure, that everyone has that say and say, hey, not only can I have fun doing this, I can have the idea at least be heard and be validated, because it comes from me and it's not going to be brushed aside. And I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
better way forward than anything else.
Yeah. You can even enjoy going to work.
Exactly. So as always, thank you, Carla, for leading
you're
us.
welcome.
So like I said, there's going to be an episode I want us to get into the stories of what we can bring to the table, because I know there's a lot of stories that you can share with us. The good, the bad, the ugly.
That's a
In that
movie.
episode, I can see that.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us today for another great and engaging Humanity Happy Hour. Of course, I am Chris Berryman. This is Carla Fedigan. If you'd like to be able to reach out to us, please let us know. And we would love to have a great and engaging conversation with you. And thank you for enjoying the time with us today. And we'll see you on Share and Care with Sandy Chernoff next Tuesday for Humanity. Share and Care with Sandy Chernoff. And that's under, like I said, the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella. All right. Have a
Have a
good
great
day,
day,
everyone.
everybody.